All right, let's get started. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. I'm April Price, VP of Business Development at Emapta, and I'm thrilled to be hosting today's webinar. And joining me are two fantastic panelists. First, we have Braden Smith, SVP of Third-Party Risk Management Solutions at Ncontracts. And joining us from our Emapta team is our U.S. President and Global Chief Revenue Officer, Christina Snyder. So let's get started. The global outsourcing market is booming. It is projected to be over $525 billion by 2030, growing at an annual rate of over 9%. This explosive growth tells us one thing. Businesses everywhere are recognizing the power of outsourcing to scale efficiently and access top talent. But at Emapta, we do outsourcing differently. We understand that businesses need more than just bodies. They need strategic partners who provide high-performing talent with maximum control and transparent pricing. That's why we focus on what we call the Emapta difference. In this webinar, you'll learn how Ncontracts scaled their team rapidly with Emapta, gaining insights into simple processes, quick time to value, and effective global growth strategies. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen so we can see our amazing... Oh, there you are. Hello, Christina and Braden. Thanks so much for being here.
Hey there. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And hello, Christina. So, Braden, to kick us off, we'd love to hear a little bit about Ncontracts and the challenges that you were facing that led you to consider outsourcing. For example, what were your pain points and what were you hoping to achieve?
Yeah, I think ultimately, the environment we all work in has evolved over the last several years, right? As our organization continued to grow, we're a very fast growing organization. We looked for ways to augment the staff that we had here in the States. We wanted to find a partner who could quickly onboard folks. We are a highly acquisitive business. So we have done at least one acquisition in each of the last, I think 7 years now. We're always, growing the team. So we needed a partner that could quickly hire talent. We have a variety of roles and knowledge and skills required for the roles on our team. Wanted a partner that could find different skill sets. And then for us specifically with Emapta, we used a partner previously. We wanted an opportunity to explore other geos. There are many providers that specialize in a particular geographic location, and we wanted the opportunity to potentially diversify our staff long-term into multiple geos. So, those are a few things that we looked for when looking for an offshore partner. The outcomes we're looking for are many of the things you could think of, right? There's, having more staff means, responding to customer inquiries faster, right? Having round the clock, support on our operational teams. There's a cost consideration as well, right? I think that's a big driver for folks, considering a global workforce or offshoring certain roles. So that was certainly a consideration as well.
Great. Thanks so much. Christina, over to you. What are the typical primary reasons that people approach Emapta for outsourcing solutions?
Well, I like what Braden shared, and thank you, Braden. That is some of the reasons that clients come to Emapta. But I want to start with as well, 50% of our business comes from referrals. And when those referrals come to Emapta, they are seeking more information about our model. So you touched on April at the beginning of this webinar, but it truly is unique. We are not traditional outsourcing. And so people want to learn more about this very clear, transparent pricing, the extension of our onshore clients' operations to Emapta's offshore teams, the dedicated staffing that remain on the client once someone like Braden is very pleased with his executive team, the employees that are attached to his accounts. And then, of course, there are no long-term contracts. And once those employees are dedicated to Braden's account, we don't take them. So many competitors will have this, quick scale and have this formidable performance, But then as soon as the client, like Braden, is pleased, they'll take that best employee and move them to another account. And that's not what Emapta does. If a client has not come in to Emapta through a referral, which is similar to Braden, they generally are looking for a lot of what Braden just shared. They are seeking to find more information about where they could go around the world to find top talent. And we do pride ourselves. Hopefully, Braden will share more about that on top talent. They'll be looking for, as Braden just shared, geo-risk considerations. Where else in the world could we have employees? So we pride ourselves in being a strategic partner and doing geo mapping, talent mapping, and so on. Or they're just looking for 24/7 scaled operations. And all over the world, we have clients like Braden that have those needs, and we really cater to tailored solutions. Braden, can you share a little bit about that piece just before April goes to the next question about kind of that scale and speed that we had with you, and then your reaction to the...
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, there are several things that resonate, with me that Christina said, first off, just the model, from an Emapta perspective. I think myself included, my company has not historically used offshoring. I haven't done that in a prior role. And so when you think of a BPO, a lot of times you think of that process where there's all these invisible people. You don't really know who they are and not sure what exactly they're doing. Completely different with Emapta, right? Like we have a hiring process. Emapta, does a lot of the legwork on the front end for us, which is fantastic. It really speeds up the process. But you're able to scale pretty quickly as well, right? I think I want to say we onboarded 30 people maybe within 2 months, something like that. Very quickly, we were able to have talent that we could evaluate. I mean, within the first week, we had talent that we could interview and make selections, based on those interviews. And Emapta's been a really flexible partner too. I think whatever works best for you, they're amenable to, but they also have recommendations as well. And I think that was super helpful in our onboarding process, having the understanding of, what hiring incentives will get more talent, right? What structures, whether that's fully remote work, hybrid, what operating centers, locations, geos would be best for that particular role. Those are all things that Emapta brought to the table and really allowed us to scale the team very quickly within a couple months.
Thank you. I appreciate sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Braden, if my memory serves me, you actually had an existing provider when you reached out to Emapta. And so if you could share, what are some of the frustrations or shortcomings that you had experienced that made you consider other options?
Yeah, I think, ultimately, we wanted to de-risk the whole process. We knew we wanted to onboard staff pretty quickly. And so started looking at other providers. Emapta has a phenomenal reputation in the marketplace. We talked to a couple, actually one of them was our customers who uses Emapta as well, and provided a recommendation there. But, really what made us, stick with Emapta and the reason why we're so happy is a lot of the things I just talked about, right? They were able to find staff very quickly, high quality team members. That our other provider, frankly, had, probably twice as much notice as the Emapta did because we have used them historically and they just weren't able to find the talent that we needed to quickly ramp up the team. Emapta also, because of their scale, is able to provide us with the recommendations and the insights, right? You guys have a process that works really well for onboarding. You all have a process that works really well for IT configuration, right? Security, permissions, like all of those little things that, sort of trip you up when you start onboarding a new team member. Those are the things that Emapta has already thought about and has a process to manage through. And it's the reason why, Emapta is our, primary partner offshore now because they've just done such a phenomenal job.
Thank
you.
you.
Go ahead. There, based on what Braden just offered, I remember early on, and Braden was wonderful, saying to April and myself and a couple others, we'll need to look at engaging this opportunity by July 4th. And I remember fireworks when Braden offered that date in my head. And I remember, staying close because we do care about staying aligned with our clients and being partners. And I remember about 30 days after getting a text, hearing, you have an opportunity for this many spots and we're going to give you this much time. And if you do well with the right profile, we'll give you more. And Braden just referenced that. What was it at that moment, Braden, that your team was saying to you that really gave you confidence to give us more than what you originally allocated in terms of headcount?
Quality of talent, period. End of story. I think if you go talk to any one of my team members, whether that's a manager or individual contributor, they will say that Emapta has found the best people. They enjoy working with them. And that's different from other providers we've used. I truly feel like, you will hear many offshore partners say they find the best of the best. And I frankly believe Emapta, there's full truth in what they've said, right? It feels like the top 1% of talent. Absolutely. So kudos to you guys for your screening process. But, it's very rare for us when we get a cohort of candidates. I mean, we almost always have a hire from a cohort of candidates. If you send us 4 or 5 folks, typically one of those people is going to be on the team, maybe multiple, right? So that's the thing that was really top of mind for us initially when we said, all right, we got to double down and use Emapta more than we initially thought.
Thank you.
That's great. Thanks so much for sharing. And Christina, speaking to what Braden was just sharing, what are some of the ways that Emapta ensures, quick and smooth onboarding process for new clients, contributing to that, fast time to value?
I think Braden touched on it, but thank you, Braden, for offering earlier. So we do have a tried and true process. We have a sales force that engages as partners with our clients, and then they are partnered with an outstanding project management team. And I remember visiting recently Braden's office, and he said, I don't know if everybody's like April, who's on this call moderating, and the enablement partner, Lenny, that launched our onboarding and enablement, but they're outstanding. So we do have across the globe for our European clients, APAC, LATAM, and North America, that systematic approach, wed with great talent and employees and good communicators. That's the other thing, right, Braden, when we talked recently about the seamless communication between our team and his team, really in the trenches, making sure that enablement, that onboarding, and then past that hypercare stage is still formidable is really something that I continue to hear about Emapta, and Braden can attest to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's another thing that's really made you guys stand out. You all have proactively engaged our entire business, frankly, right? Like our onboarding team, Lenny and others, they proactively engage with our IT team, our service desk team, our information security team, making sure they had everything that they needed, making sure they had the escalation points they needed, making sure that both sides understood how do you get help from one another, right? Like all those little things that, again, those are the annoying things that make people quit on the outsourcing stuff, right? Because it can be frustrating, right? It's like growing a new appendage. Very hard to do, right? But at the end of the day, Emapta has a process, and they execute against it very well, and they've thought of things that we never would have thought of, and it's frankly made us better for it as well.
Thanks so much. And I know, Braden, you mentioned that we grew, 0 to 32 members in just a few months. And I know you spoke a little bit about that. Christina, I was curious, if this is the type of, typical ramp up, could you comment around the range of customer sizes that Emapta works with?
Sure. So Emapta has been in business for 15 years, and our founder started the business with an eyesight on how to help startups grow to be enterprise accounts. So over the years, we've worked with startups to enterprise and SMBs, and we have many examples, like the example Braden's sharing here today, where clients will come to us and say, we need 30 employees in 2 months, or we need 60 employees in 2 months. And so similar to what I was just sharing and Braden was sharing as well, our team is skilled at being able to scale in a pretty rapid fashion. And that's a unique value proposition as well. But we do. Today, we have lots of examples tied to our verticals, like Ncontracts that have scaled with us that way. But we also have large enterprise accounts that have come to us because of our model and said, we are not looking for 200 headcount for a 2-year contract. We're looking to test this unique model that you have with 15 to 20. And that's how we start some of those relationships with larger companies as well. So we really do, and they're all over the world, and we're just continuing to be pleased with the opportunities that we have, like working with Braden and his team to continue to grow for a long period of time. And to that point, that's our model. We are not one and done. I used to lead a very large organization, and we outsourced, and it felt one and done. I call it throw over the wall and then hope that it works out, and you'll hear from them with KPIs. We do not do that. We try to stay really close to people like Braden, the decision makers, really stay close to their business and offer tailored solutions for other parts of their business that they might be looking for.
Yeah. And I wanted to add one thing too. I was thinking, Christine, as you spoke, just the breadth of talent you can find as well through Emapta is pretty phenomenal. I think, we've sort of grown, we started in more of an operational, team, but, we have, customer service personnel, accounting, finance personnel, like, all sorts of different roles, specialist roles that, we wouldn't have traditionally thought maybe, a couple of years ago that we could, use, offshore talent for that, we're finding talent for. Right. And so, yeah, I think, I think we get stuck in this mindset sometimes of like, it's just administrative roles or it's just customer, service roles when really there's talented people everywhere, right? That can fulfill all sorts of needs.
The great point.
Yeah, great. And Braden, we so appreciate you because we started out with, a handful of roles with, operations, but you've been great in introducing us to other divisions within your organization. And we've really grown the team past the original, requisitions that you had open. So it's great to hear you say that. Before we go over to Q&A, because we do have a couple questions that are really good. I think Braden will be great to speak to. Can you, Braden, just summarize your experience with working with our team? And, what would you say to other companies who are facing similar challenges that, talent challenges that Ncontracts have been?
Yeah. I mean, I think to summarize the relationship we have with Emapta, it really comes down to partnership at the end of the day. You guys have been a fantastic partner in the sense that you have learned our needs, our business, how we operate, and we've also learned from you, right? And so really appreciate all that you guys have done. I think for others, as you're thinking about, engaging with a partner, I mean, you should start asking questions about, how do they handle onboarding? Like, do they have a recommended approach? We talked to a ton of peers, that had, done offshoring before to kind of learn what to look for. But, I'd say Emapta has just been a fantastic partner and it just shows in the growth that we've had with you all.
Great. Thanks so much for that. We do have a couple of questions that I want to get over to, which I thought would be really great for you, Braden. I have one that came in. It says, is there any difference in productivity for Emapta resources that are on-site or full-time, remote, hybrid for account executives, recruiters, sales, development, SEO professionals, social various different roles? Have you found there are differences in productivity and what that looks like on-site versus work from home?
I have not, our team has not noticed any differences in productivity. We monitor everything just like we would for existing team members. Again, we treat these folks just as another one of our team, so we have onshore staff we have weekly one-on-ones with, right? We have metrics check-ins. We have performance reviews on a certain cadence, right? We do the same thing for our offshore staff. We have open lines of communication. But yeah, I'd say there's no markable difference from a performance perspective. In fact, in some ways, I think they can be more productive and more excited about certain opportunities that I think we found, our staff is predominantly in the Philippines, and, the people there are just fantastic. They're all hungry to learn, to take on new opportunities, and that can be refreshing.
Great. And Christina, can you speak to a little bit about our the different work setups that we actually can offer at Emapta?
Certainly. So clients will come to us and say that they already have post-COVID a work from home model, and they'll ask us if that's allowable with Emapta. The answer is yes. Some clients will come to us and say, we worked through COVID and we had work from home, and now we want to go work from office. Can you help us with that transition? The answer is yes. And then some clients will say, I just had one last week, we like the hybrid approach. We like having 3 days a week work from home and then 2 days in the office. And depending upon where you want to set up your high-performing team around the world, we can do that as well. So there are many opportunities. And like I said at the beginning, and Braden did as well, we really tailor the solution to fit your business need and make sure it's branded and culturalized the way that you want it to happen.
Thank you. I have another one. It says, we often hear about the strong work ethic and positive attitude prevailing in the Filipino culture. Braden, has that been your experience with building a team with Emapta and, beyond just the skills, the cultural fit for your team?
Yeah, I mean, I think a cultural fit has been great. Like I said, very high performing team. Yeah, they're always hungry to learn and to grow. They, are very, the culture aligns well with the US culture. I mean, many of them are, they're native English speakers. Sometimes you wouldn't even know that you're talking to somebody in the Philippines, and so there's been no sort of language barriers or anything like that, which you can experience in some other geos. So yeah, I mean, from our perspective, there's really not been any material downsides. I mean, it really has been pretty much all positive, and especially with Emapta. Like I said, we've used other partners, and just the partnership we've had with Emapta has been fantastic. So that definitely helps as well.
Great, thank you. And I'll go to Christina for this one. How do we pay for the employees? How does that work?
How do we pay for the employees? So every month we pay, because we're the employee of record in the location where you house your employees, via payroll, because that's part of the service that we provide as part of our seat fee. When you engage with Emapta, before the first employee onboards, you pay the 15th prior to their start date, so that every 15th and succeeding months, you're paying for the payroll for us to do the actual payroll distribution to those employees. And one more thing I want to add about the Philippines that Braden was sharing, I just really encourage anybody who's on the call that is interested in learning more about our locations. I just visited the Philippines, and my reaction was astounding. That I agree with everything Braden said, as well as very good humans. Like, I just wanted to add one more point that I'm sure Braden has experienced with his team. They're very amazing people that want to please both our staff at Emapta as well as our clients. So you always had, when I'm there, this feeling of real teamwork, that there's this real desire and drive to make sure that the clients' expectations are exceeded, and that they're part of it because of the model again, because they're a seamless extension of Braden's onshore team. They are respected so well in our model and part of that team that there's a synergy. And so when you go to the Philippines, you feel that vibe. You really do. And then you look at our office spaces that are, I attest our whole team and our founder for really investing in a great wellness experience in our office spaces. And you walk away feeling like, this is great. I could commute. So it's a good place to visit if you're ever interested in working with us, to go over and visit that team and the location.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just going to add something too, just to the core question around how to pay. Emapta provides transparency into the whole process. So again, this is going to be something that you'll notice from other partners. When we go to onboard a team member, they provide I don't know, a 2 or 3 page document that outlines your fee breakdown, how much the team member is going to make, how much is going to their benefits, how much is going to their taxes, and there's just absolute full transparency. There's other partners where, getting that level of detail is a little bit like pulling teeth. They're like, your monthly charge out is X. Yes, but what are we paying for a service fee? How much is the staff actually earning? That can be hard to find sometimes. And people try to obscure that a little bit. And Emapta is just like, very, you can see all the details, and that gives us a lot of peace of mind as well as we're, onboarding staff and considering, how much we're paying and making sure that the pay is equitable, for the geos where we operate. So.
Thank you, Braden. We're good partners. I didn't answer that well enough, and you just made it perfect, but that is true. And then likewise, when I started, I heard right away, which was music to my ears, to Braden's point. Once you know what you're paying someone when they start, and you see that they are such a strong talent, you want to give them a career path, Braden, through the model and the leader and the hiring manager, can say, I want to give that person a pay raise, and he can see exactly what they're making and what pay raise. So that's a very great point, Braden, and thanks for bringing that up.
Yes, thank you. And before we wrap up, Christina, I know you mentioned, just recently traveling to the Philippines, and and that's where Braden's team is with Ncontracts. Can you talk a little bit for our attendees to hear other geographic locations that we are, and if you'll be traveling to any of those soon?
Absolutely. So thank you. We have many locations in the Philippines, so learn more on our website about those different locations. We're also located in Macedonia, Sri Lanka, Vietnam, Colombia. We have offices in the United States, and we are continuing to grow. So we have some additional things that will be forthcoming that we'll be sharing with our clients and the marketplace. But yes, we are steep with locations. And I remember also in Malaysia, when we met Braden, we were doing geo mapping like we normally do, and we did some talent mapping. We also have a location in Malaysia. So lots of opportunities depending upon who you are and what your business needs, and then really mapping out the best location for your capability needs.
Right.
But I don't want to end on me. I want to end on Braden, an amazing client, amazing partner. Just really am appreciative of you spending time with us today, and know that you're a very busy man. He has such a key role in his organization with a recent promotion, one of many. And so we are very thankful for you, and know that we will continue to do whatever it takes to satisfy your company's needs and be there for you. So thanks, Braden.
Yep. Well, we appreciate the partnership and looking forward to many more years working together.
Very good. And for any other questions, like April said at the beginning, and I also want to applaud April. April's been instrumental in building the relationship with Braden. So April, thank you for your excellence as well. It's a testament to our sales force and our biz dev leadership embarking on opportunities like this with Braden. So thank you both.
Yes, thank you. And I'll just share my screen so that everyone can see how to reach out to us. But again, thank you to Braden, of course, and Christina for, sharing your experience and expertise. And thank you for our audience and your participation. If you do have additional questions, as Christina mentioned, or if you'd like to learn more about how Emapta can help your business scale, please visit emapta.com. You can drop us a line at hello@emapta.com or scan the QR code here, and we'll reach out with more information. And don't hesitate to, if you didn't get your question answered today, then please reach out, share your question, and we'll be sure to get answers from ourselves or Braden if anything comes up.
Thank you so much. Rest of the day. Take care.
Yes.
Bye, Braden.